welcome to another episode of the Chronicles of Mr. I'm Mr. Pierre. I'm so glad to be joined by another black man, another black educator, black male educator, Mr. McClain. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited because, like we were saying right before we started recording, because we make up less than 2% um, of educators in the United States, it's really dope to be able to have these types of conversations in the hopes that others will join the profession and in the hopes that others will remain in the profession. Because
Right.
over the past couple of years, yeah, that 2% has decreased. And I'm hoping that the more of us that are able to connect and create a community will be able to remain in the profession. So if I could start off by asking you, what is it that brought you into the field of education?
So originally I did not want to go into education. But I have a story. So, growing up, I grew up in Arkansas in a single parent household. I have 7 siblings. And so, like I said, was raised by a single mother, and most times she was not able to show up for me in the academic or in my schooling like I would prefer, or that was a way that made me feel as if she was active, I would say. And most of the time, the people who were there for me in those times of need while I was at school were my teachers. And so as I matriculated through K through 12, I made bonds with so many teachers who poured into me, made sure I had everything I needed as far as, extracurriculars, um, helping me even just like small stuff, like even just keeping a phone on when I was in high school when I needed just stuff like that. Getting me to college, making sure that I was able to go to college and I was able to afford college. And so once I got to college, I started off in media broadcasting. Then I switched to marketing, and then one day there was this booth set up in our student union, and it was a children's camp called Kids Across America. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I signed up for it, and I was able to be like a camp mentor for a summer. And I just fell in love with education. I realized like I have a duty to give back to those who look like me. And so after I came back from that summer, it was my freshman year. Another opportunity presented itself where I was able to work at a school called Freedom Schools. And Freedom Schools is a school, particularly like in the South, where kids get reading curriculum, and they just aid in reading and make sure that all kids know how to read and have access to reading. Um, and so I was able to work at Freedom Schools, and eventually I became a supervisor over my peers just through my hard work and dedication. And then that landed me in another position where I was able to uh, be a supervisor of my own after school program. It's like I went to the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. So Pine Bluff is a small community, but inside Pine Bluff there's a after school program. It's a nonprofit. It's more than an after school program, but one of their focuses is education. So they had an after school program, and they allowed me to be like the main supervisor, like supervised over my peers. I maintained the building of about 45 kids Monday through Friday, and I was a sophomore in college, but I was actually acting as a principal when I was done with my studies, in a sense. And so I just was like, okay, let me just change my major education. And from then, everything else fell in line for me. So I became a classroom teacher, and now I served as a lead classroom teacher, a dean of students, and now I am a assistant principal at the age of 27.
That's what's up.
That's my
That's
story.
what's up. That's what's up. And specifically, I mean, you just gave us the elevator story of like the last 3 minutes, but there is so much in there when I hear that that I'm sure that folks who are in the community are like, yo, right, this dude is young, 27, under 35, and in doing these things because a lot of the admin that folks see are above 35 or who have spent many, many years. And to hear how you're doing it at a young age is fantastic. It's fantastic. What
Thank you. Yeah.
advice? What advice would you give to other black men who are like, yo, I want to be an admin. How do I take those steps? How do I get ready so I can stay ready so that when the opportunity presents itself, they're ready to jump into that role.
So when it comes to any advice I would give to anybody who's ready to take that step, I would just say first, it might sound cliche, but it's God. I
Mm,
thank God for my talents and my strength as a black male. Uh, that's one of the things that when people look at me, they like, okay, black men, they oftentimes they think that we are the disciplinarians. And so I'm more, I'm, I keep my kids in line, but I have their best interests at heart and I build a relationship with my students. So the people around me see that, so definitely God, building relationships with not only the students, but the people who you are in contact with as far as the stakeholders, like the teachers and the parents. Um, just good. I think it's relationship, and then just making sure that you are still on top of your game, because most times, they that people expect for us to be off of our game, but if you are, staying on top of it, uh, handling your professional responsibilities, and uh, just showing up in ways that other people are not willing to, people see that, and they're more willing to take a chance on you and a shot on you, and so it's just been by the grace of God that, like I said, I was 19 leading my peers, uh, 22 leading my peers as a lead teacher, and now I'm able to do the same thing because it's just a consistent thing that I've maintained. Just showing up when other people don't show up.
dope, dope, dope. If there was one thing, because you just mentioned how you were the lead for the after school program, the lead for a while. I'm assuming you were the specialist teacher or the para, and then became the lead teacher, and then from there became assistant, and then from there in the role that you're now.
Well, yeah, the second thing, I was just the general classroom teacher.
Okay.
But when I say lead teacher, I was a grade level chair and content level chair. So I taught in middle school.
Ah,
But yes,
okay. And you just mentioned middle school, and I know a lot of people who are listening to this are like, middle school has got to be the worst. Why would homie choose middle school? Do you find that that is the lane that that you do best in?
uh, it's my comfort zone
Yeah,
because I started off as a middle school teacher. Started off student teaching in middle school. It's all I knew
got
until
it.
this year. I was forced to be an elementary school assistant principal just due to some staff in it with my district.
Yeah,
But I'm finding out that is no matter what age group or what range, I can still make a difference.
yeah,
But middle school is definitely my comfort zone. I think I like being able to have conversations with the kids, be real with them, and
yeah,
they are more receptive. And I know that it's a formative age, so they still growing a lot,
yeah,
and I can make a really great impact as they transition into high school. Because moving into high school, once something nobody told me is that freshman year count too. Like that
yeah.
GPA is what's gonna set you up. Like
Yep,
I didn't have a 4.0 graduate from high school, but I knew if somebody would have told me that this matters too, I
yeah,
probably could have. But
yep.
I just want to make sure that I'm instilling that into my kids and my students that every year counts. Like elementary school, middle school, high school, college, it all counts because it helps you, it shapes you into who you will become in the future.
It all counts. I think if anyone's listening, that's going to be a gem to pick up. It all counts. All the work that you're doing is going to matter ultimately to the goal that you're looking to succeed at. If I could ask you, because you were in middle school and now that you're in elementary, if there was one piece of advice that you could give your younger self, what would it be? Knowing that you can't tell your younger self everything because if everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority. But if you could,
I, I'm
what
sorry
would
for
it be?
cutting you off.
No,
I
it's all
would
good.
say, be nice to yourself. Be nice to yourself. You're gonna turn out to be a great man. Um, I'm. Let's say we are often our harshest critic. That's me. I'm so hard on myself. Even though like people tell me all the time, you're doing a great job. You've succeeded in life this far. I'm still my the person who beats me up the most. And
Mm.
so if I could tell my younger self, just be cool on yourself, man. You got it. You got it. I think that's what I would say.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How do you look to, now that you're in admin, how do you look to not forget what it was like to be the lead teacher? Because there are some admin that the moment they level up, if you will, it's like, B, did you remember what it was like to be in the classroom? There were certain things. that you don't plan for.
Yeah,
How do you balance that?
I think my teachers would tell you I'm very, very intentional about just authentic communication, um, following up when there are concerns, because I remember like I was in their position one time, so
Mm,
I try to make sure that I end the day by following up and finishing up all my tasks, everything that somebody brought to me, because I know that that's like you said, some admin that forget that they were teachers as well, and so I think it's just being mindful that you can't forget where you came from. So I'm just I make sure at the end of each day I follow back up with every parent who called me that day. Even if I can't get the task done, I'm gonna follow back up with you. Like I said, the
mm,
teachers, if they bring concerns to me, I want to address it immediately, because being an admin is very, very so many small fires that come daily. So
mhm,
it's like every time I turn around, I'm making 1,000 decisions. But I got to remember these people are relying on me, so I have to make sure that I'm being intentional about making sure that I'm fulfilling their needs and addressing their concerns.
cool, cool, cool. And you mentioned how you went from being a dean to an AP and then AP to principal. Did you see that there was a big jump from dean to assistant principal?
Definitely, so much more responsibility.
Hmm.
Uh, just so much more responsibility to come with it. As a dean, I mainly focus on the discipline, but it's more to it. The academic side, the finance side,
Yeah.
uh, the parent side, just the curriculum. It's a lot. So you have to just make sure I can get it all done in a day's time, and also like I said, don't beat myself up and let myself know if you didn't get it done today, you can always come back tomorrow. Don't be so hard on yourself, but it's definitely on a different caliber
Yeah.
from being a dean, because I thought being a dean was hard, but being an AP is really, really hard. But
and then
again,
and then from AP to principal, how much of a
right,
jump is that? Yeah,
right. That's then that as well. It's they're just different calibers.
got
I can't even explain really.
it. I feel like most teachers who have a couple years underneath their belt understand um, understand that silence and understand like when you're not able to articulate it exactly, like even the unspoken is understood. So
Right,
like so for us veteran teachers knowing like, hey, if I have a classroom, let's say 25 kiddos, the difference between 25 kiddos and the difference between say 23 kiddos when just two students are absent can make a world of difference of how lighter it can feel, how quicker, and it make a world of difference. And then
and
also too, the flip side of a 25 to 27, like, yo, this is wild how just two kiddos either way can swing things. And so if you're not in
and
the classroom,
imagine being responsible for all 800.
right,
It's
right,
yeah,
which like it, for those who are watching this, like to see those eyes go a little wider is just like you also know that too of like, okay, you could be an elementary school teacher where you're like, hey, these are my 25 to 30 kiddos. I'm with them all day, aside from when they go to electives, etc. And you can be a subject teacher in elementary school, like, hey, perhaps you teach math or ELA or science and know, like, all right, I'm seeing groups of kiddos over the course of the day. And then, like you said, if you are the lead or the AP or the principal, you're now responsible for two, three, four, 800 kiddos. Yeah, that stress exponentially can get more. And like you were saying earlier, it's super important to make sure that be kind to yourself. I think that is certainly a gem that I think folks are going to pick up on. Like,
yeah. And
oh,
I think that that's for teachers as well. We got to remember that every day is not going to be the same. Some days are harder than others,
mm-hmm,
but you are in a position to lead and inspire. So you just got to keep going.
yeah,
Tomorrow's a new day.
tomorrow's a new day. If I were to ask you, was there an educator who, and maybe there was more than just one, an educator who like when you think like it's like, yo, that person, that teacher really saw me, really took an interest in me, really was able to pour
Yeah,
into me.
I got something right quick. Okay, so so it's right here. is a picture of Barack Obama,
Yeah, yeah.
and I keep it hanging on my wall. I kept it on my wall as a classroom teacher. I
Mhm.
kept it on my wall as a I keep it on my wall as a principal. But when I was in eighth grade, Barack Obama was running. Well, when I was in fourth grade, he ran for his first term,
Mhm.
and I was able to, speak in front of my intermediate school, and we had like a little election, and I was able to act as if I was Barack Obama and gave a speech to the collective. When I
Yeah.
was in eighth grade, Barack Obama became president for the second time, and I had this educator. Um, I feel like I won't say I was bad, but I used to give him such a hard time. He was a white man from he was a white man from Pennsylvania. Came
Yeah.
all the way down to Arkansas. He was my math teacher. His name is Mr. Michael Geschke. We still speak to this day. I just spoke to him a couple of days ago, but he would pull me inside the classroom when the other kids were not there, and he knew that I just needed more of a one-on-one attention.
Okay.
Um, he allowed me to dream bigger, and he allowed me to write letters to Barack Obama because he knew that was something that I really liked. And so I would send letters to Obama, to President Barack Obama. Hopefully he would send them back. But Mr. Geschke, he inspired me just to never stop dreaming,
Yeah.
and always just to you know, education is important too. So he would always instill that in me as well. He called me a learning legend, and that's something that sticks with me to this day. So shout out to Mr. G.
Nice.
Uh,
Nice.
that's my teacher for
That's
life.
awesome. That's awesome. Love to hear that. Love to hear how one black man poured into a young black man who's now pouring into many black men. That's dope. That's dope. If they're knowing how you've made these progressive level ups, um, is there anything that you would recommend that folks read or look into so that they too can sort of prepare themselves for that next level? So if you're a teacher looking to become a dean, hey, what can I read to get myself ready? If you're a dean getting
Um,
ready for an AP, what can I read to get myself ready?
right. So I like to read Principal Kafele. Principal Kafele is he goes around speaking about just different leadership traits that we must take on if you want to be, a strong leader.
Mm.
Um, right. My most recent book by Principal Kafele was called I don't even have it on me, but it's called the assistant principal identity. Um, and so just keeping yourself immersed in different literatures that align with your goals and where you want to go. I think, and just even if you go on YouTube and just look up, different principal seminars, even stuff like this, I think this is beneficial too for those people who just want to hear somebody else. Sometimes all it takes is us
Yeah.
listening to other people who can inspire us. So
Yep.
Principal Kafele is one of the person who I like to read when I'm trying to engage in like leadership
Nice.
literature.
Nice, nice, nice. This is the favorite question that I love to ask because I'm a music head. If you were to create a Mr. McClain playlist, it could have five, but a minimum of five, either five songs, five artists, five albums. What would be, and of course, knowing, hey, that's just for today. If I ask you this question next week, it could change because it's all fluid and ever evolving. What would be on Mr. McClain's playlist?
So I'm a music head too. So if you listen to my playlist, you get in my car, you're gonna hear gospel, you're gonna hear R&B, you're gonna
Yes,
hear rap, you're gonna
yes.
hear pop. So I would say definitely anything from Smokey Norfolk.
Okay,
I like Lil Baby.
okay.
Uh, I like I like Rod Wave. If I'm on a R&B tip, I'm probably gonna be listening to some Donnell Jones, 90s R&B,
Mm-hmm.
and then uh, it's not music related, but on my way to work every morning, I listen to the Steve Harvey Morning Show, and I tell you
Okay.
what, if you listen to the Steve Harvey Morning Show, he gives an inspirational, quick 5 minute, little spiel every morning, just a
Yeah,
word of encouragement, word of advice,
yeah.
and so that's what I've been listening to every morning this past school year. Um, if I'm not listening to my audio book,
That's what's up. That's what's up. So I caught Smokey Norfolk, Little Baby, Rod Wave, Donnell Jones, and some Steve Harvey. All
yeah,
right. All right. I love it. I love it. Look, folks, I love having these conversations with other educators, and particularly for this particular conversation, being able to hear how one can prepare for that next level, no matter how difficult it is. That there are folks who have done it, there are folks who see it in you and who will pour into yourself. It's just a matter of being kind to yourself, allowing yourself to make mistakes, allowing yourself to not finish everything that you have on your to-do list, knowing that, hey, tomorrow's going to be another day. You'll be able to get at it again.
And
Um, it,
yeah, and if I could leave people with one thing, this is what I
yeah.
like to tell all of my friends and family. Just anybody who I come in contact with when they're struggling, as struggling with reaching their goals, reaching their dreams. Um, I am a person who believes in manifestation.
Mm,
I write them down multiple times. I put them all over the place. I got I got my vision board right here.
that's what's up.
I got it in my bathroom. So I write it down. You got to speak it
Hmm.
over your life. Claim that you already got everything accomplished, and you got to believe it with your whole heart. And if you do those things, anything that you want, anything you ask God for, if you believe in God, it'll come to fruition. I believe it, and I'm a product of it.
Excellent, excellent. So, folks, I think a couple of gems and a couple of gems right there were just dropped as well that we can pick up and start applying in your own day-to-day educational career. So I just want to say first and foremost, or as we end this podcast, thank you very much, Mr. McClain, for coming through.
Thank you.
Um,
I want to come back again, man.
oh, you'll be back. Oh, you'll be back for sure, for sure.
Yes, sir.
And I think specifically, I love to. I'm going to look into Principal Kafele, and so that we can talk more about that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Excellent, excellent. So this has been another episode of the Chronicles of Mr. I'm Mr. Pierre. He's Mr. McClain. Mr. McClain. We're out. Thank you for.